What's cracking with you people? Anansi here and welcome back to Dead or Alive Ultimate. In this one, we're going to be tackling the final character on the default roster of Dead or Alive Ultimate, Jann. And Jann is, for all intents and purposes, one of the most unremarkable characters in the story. I'm going to go ahead and read a little blurb that they have for him in the Dead or Alive Ultimate manual, and then we'll get into that. So, Jann has never seen the faces of his parents. They died when he was very young and left him an orphan, alone to fend for himself. Soon after, he absorbed himself in the study of Jeet Kune Do. At first, he fought to replace the feelings of loss from when his parents died, but eventually Jann fought purely for the sake of fighting. One day, he heard the rumor of a tournament to honor the strongest fighter in the world. He wondered if he could find what he had been searching for in the tournament. He smiled just for a moment and clenched his fist tightly. So basically, um, basically, he's Goku. If Goku had even less motivation in the show, Jann, unlike every other character in the original Dead or Alive game and in the series, really doesn't have a major driving factor to him. He is, despite the fact that he does a lot of his watas and huyas and whatnot as the Bruce Lee representative stand-in character for, well, the requisite Bruce Lee character for these over-the-top fighting games, he is depicted often as stoic. Like, next to Ryu Hayabusa, he is very, very stoic. Not as stoic as Ryu can be, especially if you've played Ninja Gaiden, the original Ninja Gaiden Black, or Ninja Gaiden 2, when you pretty much show next to no emotion. Jann does that too in the Dead or Alive series, but in my opinion, it just doesn't work for him. But yeah, like, unlike every other character in Dead or Alive, Jann doesn't really have a reason, at least a compelling reason to be part of the proceedings. For instance, we've gone over the entire roster at this point. Kasumi is here to kill Rydell, right? To get revenge on him for what he did to their family. Zack is here for essentially notoriety, fame, fortune, that kind of thing, just to really get his name out there. Lei Fang is here to fight Jann because she has a personal grudge against him that he is not aware of, just because she doesn't like the fact that he saved her back home when she felt she could very much handle it herself. Genfu is here to win money to pay for his granddaughter's surgery. Tina's here to try to find something more in life besides just being a pro wrestler. Ryu is here to essentially look after Kasumi, who is his best friend's younger sister. So he's literally doing this to look after her, to make sure she doesn't get herself hurt. Raido is the champion of the tournament. We'll get into him when we do his his section later. Now, Jann is literally just here to find a worthy opponent. Like, the manual depicts it as he's trying to find something out of life, but as far as the game series is concerned, all the way up until the most recent game, Dead or Alive 6, he is literally just here to find a worthy opponent, and that opponent has changed a couple of times. I want to say twice. Because for the most part, he considered, at least up until 5, he considered Ryu Hayabusa to be the only worthy opponent for him. Then it changed randomly for no apparent reason. And when we ever get to 5, I'll bring that up, no problem, because it's kind of dumb, how and why his opponent, his rival changed. It's kind of dumb. But yeah, getting into it, Bruce Lee, I call him Bruce Lee because his last name is Lee. Jann Lee, I don't know why I call him Jean. He's not French, he's Chinese. Jann Lee taught himself Jeet Kune Do. Jeet Kune Do, historically, was created by Bruce Lee, and it is a form of mixed martial arts, combining it combines a couple of forms. I don't remember all the top of my head, but I know for a fact it combines boxing, I want to say karate, and I want to say like 2 others. Basically, Bruce Lee is to be thanked for MMA, for mixed martial arts, because that's what Jeet Kune Do is. Jeet Kune Do is just a mixed martial art. And Jann Lee taught himself this by watching Bruce Lee movies. I wish I was making this up, but I won't. But I believe in Dead or Alive 2 or 3, they depict it as a child, like age 5. He taught himself Jeet Kune Do by watching Bruce Lee movies. Kind of ridiculous when you really think about it, but who am I to judge? But yeah, throughout the entire series, like the only interesting thing about him, like beyond teaching yourself Jeet Kune Do, watching Bruce Lee movies, is that he likes to play the trumpet. He's a bouncer, and Lei Feng has a vendetta / quasi crush on him. I want to say in like Dead or Alive 5, they hint that it might be that she might have romantic interest in him, but he could care less. One of the things that I would like to see with Dead or Alive, assuming they continue the series, which I'm sure they will. Dead or Alive prints money, even if it is just DLC costumes nowadays. It prints money. And I would like to see the game series continue, because even beyond the costumes and the region DLC practices that they're doing now, it is a solid fighting game. Like, it is a technically solid fighting game. Even if you don't like Dead or Alive, they still play the games at EVO tournaments. I believe last round is the current one they do. I don't think they do this craziness like they do with Smash Bros. Where it's like, even though they have a new version of the game out, they only play an older version for some stupid freaking reason. I have never gotten Smash Bros. Evo Pro levels. I'm gonna be honest with you there. I really am. I just don't get it. I prefer playing Smash Bros. Like a casual, call me a filthy casual if you want to, but I just don't get it. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent here. But yeah, if they do a Soul Calibur 6 style reboot of the series, like soft reboot of the series, not a hard reboot like what happened with Mortal Kombat 9, but like a soft reboot kind of thing, I would like to see Jann Lee, if not fleshed out a little bit more, then at least see Lei Feng develop a little bit more as a result of his stoicness. Like, have him be her foil, because that's what they were building up for. At least from what I can, is what I feel like. At least what I can tell in the Dead or Alive series, that Lei Feng's kind of growing as a person. She's maturing as a woman, trying to prove to Jann Lee that she could have taken care of herself that day, even though more than likely Jann has completely forgotten about it. Like, if you if you look at the because I don't believe it was ever depicted. I don't believe it's ever depicted like a cutscene or anything. I think it's just, you can just assume from his mannerisms and the way he conducts himself that he has no idea who Lei Feng is, and he more than likely doesn't care. And even though she remembers that day vividly, it's, to quote the Street Fighter movie, M. Bison, for Lei Feng, the day that he saved her life was the most important day of her life. For him, it was Tuesday. He doesn't care, right? And that's pretty much been his characterization throughout the entire series. Combat-wise, he's a very fast character. He's one of the fastest characters in the series. I think in terms of male characters, he is the fastest male character. I think for female characters, Ayane, when they introduce her, she is the fastest female character in terms of fighting capability. with one other character falling close behind her and Kasumi in third. If my memory serves correct. If my memory is correct on that. But Jann Lee is a decently balanced character. He has some advanced movesets, but for the most part, you can use him to essentially just pressure your opponent and hope and for the most part make sure they don't get off any hits. He is my kind of character. I'm not gonna lie. His personality freaking sucks, so I hardly ever use him. But when I do pick him up, he is a blast to play because I like those faster characters. I had never been much for slow, lumbering, hard-hitting characters, even though every character in Dead or Alive has a chance to utterly wreck any other character. Like I think Bayman is the slowest character in Dead or Alive. I genuinely believe that he is the slowest character in Dead or Alive, but if you know how to play Bayman can destroy any other character because, you know, he relies predominantly on his holds. Jann Lee relies heavily on his fast strikes, so be sure to keep that in mind when you're playing as him. And yeah, that's kind of about it for Jann Lee, you know. And it's just weird, in my opinion, that that Izagaki would, you know, the creator of Dead or Alive would have this just random backstory for his character that just seems uninteresting. Because you know, when the first game comes out, it's very likely that they don't have like a story mode in mind. They have like some basic ideas down, but if you look at the manual for Dead or Alive 2, especially Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, oh yeah, they completely revamped the characters and they completely and they overhauled them to the point of making them like fleshed out, like giving them like a backstory, a life history, hobbies. I never touched on it, but like on the character select screen, even going back to Dead or Alive Ultimate, you got to see the age of the characters, except for Kasumi and Ayane. Kasumi and Ayane in the West, because, well, we'll get to that in a second here. But every other character, no, you got to see their age. You can see their age, their birthday, their blood type, their likes, their job. Like, they give them a legitimate job. They give them hobbies. Like, Jann Lee likes hamburgers and grapefruit. The Bruce Lee guy likes hamburgers. Like, that's his thing. Like, it's like he likes it so much that I remember back in the day, I read this fanfic where like the characters were looking to it was like this weird kind of retelling of the entire Dead or Alive saga, or at the very least it was anyway, it was weird, but weird, but it was that weird. So I wonder if they ever finished that story. I probably go back and look at it and see if they have it. Either way, in the story, it's like randomly all the characters are out late looking for food, and Jann Lee finds a McDonald's and he is having a ball, and I'm like, dude, that's how you do that. But yeah, he likes hamburgers and grapefruit. But like with Kasumi, you know, they gave her the thing about Lei Fang. They gave her, you know, a personality where she's like headstrong, very independent, doesn't like to be rescued, that kind of thing. Bayman, they gave him the honor of assassinating Fame Douglas. Fame Douglas wasn't even a thing. Oh, well, I would say it wasn't even a thing. Actually, no, he did. No. I don't think he was a thing. In the original game. You know, and Tina, you know, they give her career crisis, or quarter-life crisis, as it were. And they give, what's the word I'm looking for here? They gave Genfu a tragic reason for doing it, because I rather mention this in Genfu's story, but Genfu is actually retired. Like, even though he's known as the Iron Fist, he's actually retired. He doesn't fight anymore. He doesn't show off his moves. He hasn't taken an apprentice, period, to teach his style to anyone. He comes out of retirement just to win some money. At the very, if anything, just semifinals or quarterfinals, just to win enough money to pay for his granddaughter's treatments. He's not trying to go all the way. They retconned that in 2. But the Jann Lee, the Bruce Lee guy, you know, Bruce Lee, arguably one of, if not the most important figures in Chinese cinema, next to Jackie Chan, who, fun fact, find out, oh, sorry, hit the mic there, who, fun fact about Jackie Chan, was Bruce Lee's stunt double. That's right, Jackie Chan was the guy who was standing for Bruce Lee when Bruce Lee had a stunt that he felt was too dangerous to do. Give Jackie some props. Which makes me wonder why we don't have a Jackie Chan character. Like, I just now realized that. I don't think we actually have a Jackie Chan character representative equivalent in any fighting game. If we do, someone has to point them out to me, because I am drawing a complete blank on that one. But you think that Tomonobu Itagaki, the guy who is pretty much style over substance all the way, is just how does it look, how flashy is it, that kind of stuff. Like, storytelling is not this guy's priority. He was Team Ninja's Shigeru Miyamoto, with less allegations of workplace harassment, but that's another thing entirely that I don't even want to get into. I just want to bring that because I know the people who know the story will bring that up. I just want to just kind of get ahead of that real fast. But you would think that he would think of something more interesting for Jann Lee than to make him this stoic dude, you know? Like honestly, I like the idea that Jann Lee is an orphan. I like the idea that he taught himself Jeet Kune Do, because I think in Dead or Alive 2 they show that on top of being an orphan, he was also a thief. If you've seen Bleach, think Renji Abara and Rukia from the flashback to their past, where you see them as really young children in the Rukongai district. Was it Rukongai? I won't say Rukongai was the exact district. It was pretty much the slums of the Soul Society, and you see them. You see them in the past compared to where they are now, where like Renji is the lieutenant of one of the court guard squadron, and the second in command to Rukia's brother, who is part of a family that is one of the big families in the Soul Society she got adopted into. And you go back and you see them, and they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, they were petty thieves and a bunch of ruffians. That's kind of who Jann Lee is, and I honestly, thinking about it now, I honestly would prefer, like, if they did do a revamp of Dead or Alive and they tried to give some characters a little bit more personality. Like, the only thing that I really would do is just with Kasumi, you know, I would say just kind of flesh out more of her time as a runaway. Every other character, for the most part, gets a decent amount of development, and Ayani's development is in Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden, so that's kind of a thing. For Jann Lee, I would not mind if Jann was more like Ichigo or Renji, you know? Like, having him be stoic, playing off of Ryu stoic, makes no sense to me, you know? Because you essentially just have two stoic characters being stoic for the sake of being stoic, but with Ryu, he's a ninja. With Jann Lee, he's a bouncer. But he's not in a bouncer context, but Ryu's always in ninja context, you know what I'm saying? So if I were to redo it, what I would do is I would kind of have it be where Jann Lee kind of has two mental modes. Like they mentioned inside the manual that he learned Jeet Kune Do to cope with the loss of his parents, even though they mentioned the same manual that he doesn't remember his parents' faces. So it's like, what the heck, dude? But what I would do is, in the game, I would depict him as a Renji kind of character. Kind of loud, brash, but he knows how to be calm when he's in fight mode, you know? Renji, for the most part, even though he is brash, he's mostly only brash around like characters like Ichigo and Rukia, because those two can push his buttons like you wouldn't believe. So I think for Jann, I think what we should do is have him start off as this kind of like chilled kind of Renji character, you know? Like how when when season 2 of Bleach kicked off, you see Renji instead of wearing his black gi, he's walking around this really flamboyant flower shirt, just strutting like he owns the place. I would have Jann Lee be like that, a kind of like relaxed kind of calm dude, that kind of relaxed badass type, where it's like, yeah, I can kick your butt, but I'm not going to show off any. I'm not going to like overtly display, but I'm going to strut like I can, as opposed to him just not caring. And then when he's actually like in fight, like in the tournament, and we have like scenes of him in a tournament, we see him be that stoic. Like we see the moment where brash Jann Lee cuts off and stoic Jann Lee cuts on, just so that he has a little bit more dynamic. Because you're not going to give him like an important story role inside the series beyond just being the fool for Lei Fang, then at least do what they did with Zack and give him like a funny or interesting quirk that makes you kind of latch on to him, you know. So once again, remember, he learned Jikutong to cope lots of his parents, so maybe when he's outside of like fight mode, he's kind of relaxing, chilling out. He's kind of like, I guess for lack of a better term, I would make him a little fit. What the heck is a little fit? That makes no freaking sense. I would honestly like a close approximation. I know I said Renji, but like, I know there's a better character I could pick for that. I would actually make him a little bit more like Duo Maxwell from Gundam Wing. I think that would be an interesting idea. And then when he's in fight mode, he's more like Troa Barton. If anyone here even watches Gundam, I honestly don't know. Just to have that stark contrast and give him a little bit more kick, at least a little bit more staying power. Because otherwise, he's just another Bruce Lee character, and we have plenty of those in the fighting game genre. I mean, I mentioned earlier. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but Fei Long in Street Fighter, he is literally just Bruce Lee. Like, Bruce is a movie star. Fei Long is a movie star in the canon of Street Fighter. He is just there doing movies, you know, filming his next film set, and then he just gets into a couple fights. Liu Kang, he's I equate him to the Bruce Lee type in Mortal Kombat, even though that may be completely wrong. But I mean, just looking at his portrayal in Endgame and how he fights, you know, he seems very much like a Bruce Lee type, but he's like very, very, very like faithful and whatnot. Like he's Superman Bruce Lee, if that makes any sense. But they do give him moments, even in the reboot, they give him some moments where it's like, okay, a little bit more interesting, and we see like a very clear like the vibe between him just kind of chilling out, and not fighting, and when he is fighting, we do kind of see that juxtaposition. Even if it's small, like he becomes more playful when he's fighting as opposed to when he's not fighting. Like when he's not fighting, he's jokey. When he's fighting, he's playful. And I think there was a difference, you know. Like when you're with your friends, you kind of crack a couple of jokes, but you're mostly just kind of relaxing. But when you're with other people, you are a little bit more animated. And even Young Seung and Soul Calibur, you know, he's trying to save his family and whatnot, and save his hometown by trying to find Soul Edge, and that's going to be a whole entire mess right then and there. But you know, we see he is this happy-go-lucky guy. He's just trying to do the right thing, but he's naive. You know, what I'm getting at is that Bruce Lee-esque characters in fighting games usually have a personality quirk to go with them being the Bruce Lee character, because otherwise they're just the Bruce Lee character, and that can wear us level pretty fast, you know. I mean, no disrespect to Bruce Lee. I think he was a great artistic figure for his time, but you know, you really can't just ape being Bruce Lee, because you're not doing anything interesting. And there's homogeneizing a character, and then there's just trying to rip the character off entirely. So I think it is time. I think it is time, like, um, for a kind of soft-ass reboot of Dead or Alive. Now that Dead or Alive 6 has kind of gone with what it's going to go with, I'm sure there's at least one more game in there where they have to resolve the plot point brought up in the 6, and we'll get to 6 when we get to 6. If you want to look it up, feel free to look it up. It's out there, but when we get to 6, we'll bring it up. But now that we have gotten to that plot point, it's safe to say that it's time to reboot the franchise to do something a little bit different with the characters. I wouldn't mind seeing the same story fleshed out a little bit more and just not taking it as crazy a direction as it went. Because now that they have an idea of where they want to go with it, it should be easier to tell a more serious narrative. If they do want to tell a more serious narrative with Dead or Alive, I do think it's time to at least give it a shot and try to reinvent some of these characters. Not all the characters, just some of them. Some of them could really do with it. And we'll get into that. Yeah, we'll get into that next time. I've been Anansi, you've been awesome, and I'll catch you later.